Hey guys, welcome to the Legacy Podcast. Today I'm sitting down with Lauren Kubat, who owns Muesli Cereal. She's a local entrepreneur here in Charleston who has a food product that she started a couple of years ago. And we'll be talking all about health, gut health, and all the different other components of how to get fit and jacked. Maybe, we'll see. And I'm really excited to sit down with her, hear all about her product. It's something we've been using and eating, consuming for the past couple of years. We always have it in our pantry. And I want to hear a little bit about what it's like to start a food product and learn all about that and hear about her entrepreneurial journey. So this will be a two-part series. This part is all about her product and how she got it going and the health components of it. Lauren, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
Yes.
So what I'd love to do is a two-parter where I want to talk a lot about, because you have your own podcast, you talk a lot about health, you talk a lot about, you got kids and making sure that we're putting the right things in our kids. Obviously, you have the Muesli brand and a lot of other things to essentially elevate your life on all different aspects. And so I want to talk a lot about the health component and your product and a lot of that side of things, and kind of what the spur and the inspiration was, and kind of how you created the product and what was that like. And then in part two, I want to hear a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey, because I know there's some things, you're making some money from this now, you're looking to invest in some real estate, and we've had some offline conversations about those things. So I think that is a really cool way to kind of break this thing down and attack it. So why don't we do this? Give me your backstory of how you started Muesli.
Sure. I went on a health and wellness retreat about 2 years ago. Jenny Fisher was the host. She's big into fitness here in Charleston. And at the Airbnb we were staying, she had something called Muesli. Muesli. So you see the pronunciation is different. I always mispronounce words. So that's why we have Muesli, because that's how I was pronouncing it. And I was like, okay, this is good. I've never had this before. And I started eating it after the retreat, and it was really helping me with my digestion. And at the same time, for my podcast, I was looking for different sponsors for advertisement space. And they weren't getting really a return on their investment. And I'm like, these random brands and insurance companies that didn't really go with my podcast and things like that. And I was thinking of well, why don't I talk, about something that I enjoy and I love, and then maybe that's something I could create. And then I was talking to Dr. B. I had him on the podcast. He's the New York Times bestseller for fiber fueled. And I was talking about how, coming back from this retreat, I was having Muesli, and it was really helping me with my digestion. He's like, well, that makes perfect sense because it has a lot of fiber. And up until that point, I wasn't really trying to eat, grains and really low carb, but my digestion was all messed up, and that was really helping. And then I was talking to my younger sister, kind of just throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what stuck. And she's like, well, what are some things that you're using right now that are helpful to you? And I was like, well, I found this Muesli thing and, kind of adding stuff to it. And she's like, well, why don't you just package your own? So that's kind of the start of it. And then I teach group fitness as well. So I had my members test out just different products. And he mentioned too, Dr. B mentioned creating diversity in our gut, and a lot of us have gut issues because there's not a lot of diversity in our gut. We're eating the same things every day. We're not being exposed to other, plants and just different organisms and stuff like that. So I'm how many different things can I throw into this to create more diversity in our gut? After having my members test it, they liked it, so we started off with the Gut Healthy Blend.
I love it. So it's essentially based on muesli, which is a Greek granola.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the first time I ever had it was when I was studying abroad. We went to Greece, hung out for a week there, and that's what they served for breakfast.
Yeah.
It was Greek yogurt with a variation of some sort of granola that was on top with some berries and all that stuff. And it's the Greek diet, the Mediterranean diet altogether is one of my favorites, just because everything's just so light. It makes you feel good. You have a ton of energy afterwards. You don't get the crash or anything like that. And so that was essentially the impetus of Muesli, right?
Yeah.
And so what all right, let's dive into this.
So that's the Gut Healthy.
You have two brands. One is the Gut Healthy.
Correct.
And then one is the protein, right?
Correct.
My wife has always bought the protein one.
Okay.
But I want to talk
That's
about
my
the Gut Healthy one first. So I can pronounce all the ingredients: oats, almonds, coconut, hemp seed, chia, flax, cocoa, and cinnamon. And that's it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so putting this all together, what does this do for the gut overall?
It just helps improve your digestion, so you're full longer. This is gonna sound kind of like gross, but your stool is supposed to look a certain way. So it helps. There's like a scale, a level. I forget the number you're supposed to be at. So it really helps making sure that your stool is the way
that your poop looks the way it should look.
Yes, that exactly. And we're just not getting enough fiber in our diet, and there's a lot of just like gut issues and allergies, and a lot has to do with our food and what we are consuming.
Well, that's like a lot of the conversation in the health world that I'm seeing is like it all starts with your gut, right?
Yeah.
Everything else stems from your gut and what kind of gut health you have. And I've seen a lot of stuff, right? Like this, I'm looking at the fiber, right? A lot of people talk about the fiber and the good bacteria, right? I mean, hey, we're drinking prebiotic soda right now, which has, doesn't it say there's like billions of bacteria or something? Not bacteria, what do they call it? Microorganisms?
Microorganisms.
And it's supposed to be really good for your gut, right? So a lot of the stuff is moving towards that as people become aware of the whole gut health piece.
Yep.
And so this has a third of the fiber that you need for an entire day essentially in it, right?
Yeah, almost half for women, because I think the recommendation is about 25 grams of fiber for women, 35 for males. So, and then I started the chocolate protein because I wanted to also increase my protein, more muscle definition, and my gym rats are like, were kind of giving me feedback, like how much protein, how much protein. So really wanted to.
Although this one's got 9 grams, but this one has 20.
Yeah, exactly. So, and when I was like testing out that one, I was testing out different like protein powders. A lot of my customers are vegan, and so I was like testing out these like vegan powders. I'm like, they just taste like trash. And I'm like, I don't want to do a vegan powder. And then I found these edamame puffs, which people love because the texture, the crunch, that's what is providing.
That's what those little guys are in there?
Yep, they're like edamame.
So you don't
puffs.
have there's not a protein
There's not
mix?
a protein powder in there.
Really?
No, yeah. And then the chocolate's the cacao powder, which has a lot of antioxidants.
You got something, you start creating this product for yourself.
Yeah.
That turns into, hey, this is so good, you should package it and start selling it to other people.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of a network here where you're training people, they want more protein, they want better gut health, they want these, they give you good feedback on all of it, and it goes down the road of like, all right, well, maybe I could sell this.
Yeah.
What did that process look like of actually turning it into a business?
Well, I was testing it out of the gym.
Have you ever owned a business before?
Yes, but they're like smaller. Like this is giving me the most traction, and it was funny because I never considered myself an entrepreneur. I've created businesses in the past, didn't make a whole lot of money off of them. And this is still a startup, And I had on my website entrepreneur, and my friend was reading it, and he was like, you spelled entrepreneur wrong. And I'm like, how can I consider myself an entrepreneur if I can't even spell the word? So up until like this year, I'm like, no,
Small business owner.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, no, I am an entrepreneur. So yeah, I've had coaching, I've had personal training, I was hosting women's events and had different meetups, kind of like to piggyback off of the events. And then I created these like digital prints for Etsy, because I was looking for products that I could use at my events and these meetups, and there wasn't anything that I needed. And I know that other hosts were having the same issue, so I kind of like created digital prints, sold them on Etsy, but Etsy was hard to get into. So yes, I've had other businesses. So
and how do you like the food business, right? Like when I think about different businesses and getting like, what's the spoilage on this? I don't know how to calculate any of that stuff, and what does all that look like? What kind of liability is there? Is this made with on machinery that has peanuts and like goofy stuff like that, you know?
So
What was it like learning about that whole process?
Well, I found out, so I make this in my kitchen. So I follow under like the cottage law. So there's not a lot of, I guess, rules with being under the cottage law. Like I don't have to have like a certain, like I don't have to have like a certain SKU. I don't have to, what are some of the other things? Like measure how long these items are good. I've tested that myself to see how long these products are good. Now, I'm not making something like a salsa that's gonna be like super perishable. And I mean, under the cottage law, you can create your own like salsa and sell them at farmers markets and stuff, but I feel like the liability is higher. So when you're not in your own kitchen, so you have people like coming in and you have like DHAC kind of like running through everything, you don't with being in your house. Also just...
Is that a federal thing or is that a state?
It's state, yeah. So...
And I'm sorry, also just, you're gonna say something else?
I forget what I was going to
say.
No, that's okay. So yeah, I'm just kind of like testing things as I go. There's other businesses in the area, like Small C, they were just on, they were talking about how they made it in their kitchen and how they wouldn't branch out into like a paid space unless you need to. As far as like the nutritional facts.
I mean, why would anybody want to take on that overhead, right? Like, I understand there's like this outside perspective of, I want to be seen as some level of professionalism or whatever. Like, I don't think that's, to me, a good business owner looks at top line, bottom line, the product, offering the best service. Like, and I understand because I've been around the block in business that like, I'd rather have you dedicating more time and more effort into making a better product, right? And keeping the price down rather than some facade of having to be seen with some sort of I don't know, outside perspective because you have an office or you have a
a kitchen or whatever. I think a lot of that is because whether like the business owner needs more space or less distraction or particular equipment, like multiple ovens, like if you're baking like the muffin drop, she's in this area, so she needs a kitchen because she needs multiple ovens and space. And then you have like, we don't have any pets, but like if you have pets, you don't have to worry about like dog hair and things like that. So I think that is why you would pursue and just like, or if you need help and you have your employees, it's just easier to meet at the kitchen, whatever it may be. But yeah, I think there is some of that with business. We're like, okay, let's show off our office or let's show off our kitchen or whatever, just to kind of like, I don't know, put a better foot forward. And so.
Or right, if you get a big order that comes in, right? If I don't know, Chobani reaches out to you and says, hey, we want to partner with you and come in and order X number of units of this product, and you can't make it all right in your house or in a smaller kitchen, you need to rent out a larger commercial kitchen, different animal.
Right, totally.
And it opens you up in order to then go down that road. So I want to get back into the health side of things.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit more. I think gut health is very interesting, and I want to learn more about it. So if you're talking to me like I'm a third grader, and you got to educate me about gut health, and you got to talk about what should I be eating, right? What do I need to be paying attention to, not only in this food but other foods? What do I need to be? Do I have to consume a certain amount of water? Do I have to eat certain types of foods? Should I stay away from certain types of foods? Are there different things that can mess up my gut? Can you give me some insights and some background on that? Like, what should let's say I start my day with muesli and some Greek yogurt. Like, what's a good thing to eat throughout the rest of the day?
Yeah, sure.
And what should I stay away from?
Yeah, I would add fruit to that. So you're, eating berries and things like that, adding more antioxidants, adding more fiber into your diet. Going back to like the simple things in life, like things from like nature, and I'm not vegan, but like, eating quality meats, things that you can pronounce. Like if you can't pronounce something, if you see a lot of dyes and fillers, which is in so many, I would start there, is looking at labels. I think that's the simplest thing because I think we get caught up in what should I eat per meal. Like if you know the item, if you know lettuce and you know chicken, and if you can read what's in a salad dressing, start with there instead of getting caught up in what I should eat for each meal. Just going back to the basics, I think that's the biggest thing. And then from there, going into how much protein am I getting in my diet? How much do I work out? The recommended amount is 1 kilogram per 1 pound of body weight. So to keep math simple, they say if you're 100 pounds, you want 100 grams of protein. Fiber for women, if you're having a hard time going to the bathroom, or you're not going every day, or if your stool is liquid, or mushy, or green, start with adding more fiber to your diet and not just fillers like a Metamucil or something like that. Fix the problem.
Yep.
So, and fix it with food.
Instead of the symptom, right?
Yes,
Let's
exactly.
go and actually fix the problem.
Exactly.
And to your point, I was up till 9:30. I actually got in trouble with my wife. Kate's like, these kids need to go to bed. But we were talking about health, and we were talking about ingredients. We were talking about hey, well, how do I know if something's healthy or not healthy? Because Kate buys all the healthier versions of macaroni and cheese, or the chicken nuggets, or whatever the snacks are. My brother-in-law came in, and he's like, you guys don't have anything like this, name brands, you know what I mean? No, we don't, because we try to get the things with few, and the kids are asking, they're like, well, how do we know if something's healthy or not healthy? And I was like, well, if you can read all the ingredients and you understand it, and Penelope, my little smart-ass 9-year-old, she's like, well, what about the word zucchini? What if somebody can't read that word zucchini?
Gosh,
I was like, all right, I get it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, things that aren't packaged then. Well, sometimes our carrots come in packages. Is that okay? I was like, all right, let's just go back. Let's just go back to the ingredients and the fewer number of ingredients.
Right.
And if you know what those ingredients are, then that's usually a healthier type of food, right?
If you ask a child, do you know what maltodextrin is? Sucralose. They probably don't know, and okay, have you ever heard of that word before? Okay, so it's probably not the best for you. Also, the colors of food, you look at Gushers and there's these bright colors. You won't see that in nature. So that's another good way of educating them is, on the colors of things.
That's good. Yeah, and that's because that's always the fake stuff that they added.
Right.
And then after the ingredients, then you go to the nutrition facts, and you're looking specifically, the macros that you're looking at are proteins and fiber.
Correct. Yeah.
Are you doing calorie counting too?
So in the beginning of my fitness journey, I was a big cardio calorie counting queen, and I didn't see any in a runner. Well, I guess that counts as cardio, but I wasn't seeing a change in my body. I was going to the gym 5-6 days a week, counting calories, 1,200 calories, and working out all the time, and it wasn't seeing a difference. And then I really started paying attention in the last couple of years, okay, protein, every calorie is not created the same. You could have, a handful of goldfish, and you're not going to get the same nutrients as you do, let's say your scoop of goldfish is not going to be the same amount of nutrients that you're getting in an apple or a boiled egg or whatever it may be. Yeah. So yes. So I would go off of macros too, especially if you're working out. You want to make sure that you're getting enough protein to build that muscle and sustain the muscle that you already have.
One of my buddies, I was telling you about Frazier. He told me, he said, crowd out the bad stuff with the good stuff.
Totally.
Right? Find the good calories. Find the things that are heavy in protein, high in protein, high in fiber, and then just eat those first.
Yep.
And what you're going to find is that you're more full, and you don't even need to eat the other stuff that usually is just more of a filler, because you're always hungry, because it doesn't create the sustenance throughout the day that some of the high protein, high fiber stuff does.
Yes. And I wanted to take cereal is a saturated market. I get that, but they don't offer simple ingredients like this does, and I haven't seen them individually packed like this. Yeah, sure, there's a box, but muesli itself, however you want to say it, does it come in individual packs? So I thought that was setting us apart as well. You could pour the milk right into the bag. These are food grade bags. That adds a level of convenience. In this day and age, people are looking for convenience, and that's why we're all overweight. Most of us is because we're going through the drive-thrus and stuff. So how can we make healthy eating more convenient? What are some things you eat in the morning? people love cereal. It's nostalgic, you know, it brings you back to when you were growing up and watching Rugrats or whatever it was and eating cereal in front of the TV. And that's why kids love it too, because then you're like, okay, it's cereal, you know, so let's make it fun.
No, I love that. And I feel the same way because usually I fasted for a long time for breakfast.
Yeah.
And then I start learning, right? And they're like, oh, well, you fast and you don't eat after 8 o'clock and then you don't eat again until noon the next day or whatever the hours are. And then I start seeing all this stuff popping up, like you need protein in the morning, right? Like you need to get your digestion started and get the protein in the morning. So if you're gonna fast, it's actually better to fast like after a late lunch or something. Don't eat, you know, instead of, and so that's more of what I've been trying to do is eat something kind of mid-morning. If I can get my workout in, I try to work out fasted if possible. And then I'll do something that's like high protein in the morning and eat heavier, kind of like in that 9, 10 o'clock range. And then I'll eat again like, I don't know, 3, 4 o'clock. And then I just kind of hang out for dinner when the kids are eating. But like our entire family dynamic has kind of gotten to that because when the kids get home from school, they want to eat at 3, 4 o'clock or whatever. And then they're not hungry, but they want to snack on something before bed or whatever. But I feel like the heavy protein and doing, that's coming back, right?
Oh, yeah,
having
it really
the breakfast
is.
And stuff
Yeah.
in the mornings.
And I feel like too, like if you are keeping track of your protein, like for me, if like you wait so long, it's so hard to cram it in, you know, so late in the day, and then you're feeling like really full, like when you go to bed. And
Exactly.
like, nobody wants to feel full when they go to bed.
No.
You want to feel like light,
Yeah.
you know, like satiated.
Yep, and that's always been my issue is like I eat, because I'll fast all day and then I get so hungry in the afternoon and then I overeat. And then I feel like crap for several hours.
Right.
And I'm like, so how do you get away from that? I like the idea of eating something earlier in the morning and getting whatever, my metabolism going.
Totally.
And then having something a little bit earlier in the afternoon. So
and your body responds to that, you know. It's like you're teaching it how to respond. So play with it. I think people are so just like, what should I do? Caught up in like, you tell me what to do, that they just don't listen to their bodies, you know, and it'll work for you. You know, you just have to listen to your body, be able to experiment with different things.
I agree. So Lauren, this has been super helpful, super interesting. What I'd like to do is in the next episode, talk about more the entrepreneurial journey, talk a little bit more about, like obviously you've gone from 1 product to 2 products, and now you have some of the like the protein balls, and you do have the bigger packages. I like the smaller package, but I want to dive into the business side of things. So on the next episode, I want to dive into that. But thank you so much for sharing all the
Of course, it's been fun. Yay, round 2.
Hey, I appreciate you being here on the Legacy Podcast. Hopefully you got some good nuggets, some good takeaways on the health side of things. Make sure you check out Muesli Cereal and order some. Support local entrepreneurs. I love highlighting local entrepreneurs who have businesses that they're launching and getting them off the ground, and especially awesome people like Lauren. So make sure you give her a follow. Check out some Muesli Cereal. And next week, we're going to be talking all about her entrepreneurial journey and kind of some of the lessons learned, the psychology of being an entrepreneur and scaling businesses and how that impacts your identity and all those different kinds of things. I'm really excited for that conversation. So we'll see you next week on the Legacy Podcast.